It's October 14, 2019, and this is Globespan 24x7 News. Good evening, and thanks for joining us. My name is Samuel Suknaden, coming to you live from Georgetown, Guyana. Here are the major headlines for today. Businessman shot and killed, 2 others injured during robbery in Kitty. Piracy attack, search still on for missing Berbice boat captain and crew member. 147 persons being trained in various allied health professions. GGMC and Labor Department share equal blame for mining pit incident, says PUGWU. And second phase of National Cultural Policy consultations set to begin soon. Over to you, Kingsley.
Thanks, Samuel. Here's what we'll be covering in our regional international news for today. The Guyanese American Chamber announces plans for Guyana's trade market. And an off-duty police officer hospitalized in Trinidad and Tobago after intervening in bar dispute. Also, Ecuador's government agrees to restore fuel subsidies, committed to restore peace. Meanwhile, U.S. Democrats subpoenas former Trump-Russia advisor in impeachment probe. And Canadian national suspected of $70 billion a year Asia-Pacific drug trade. Now we will take a look at Abel Harris, who's manning our sports desk.
Thanks, Kingsley. For Sports Headline, Sport Minister congratulates Ghana Amazon Warrior despite team loss to Barbados. Hero CPL announces team of the tournament. Gladiators exact revenge on revelers in CPL Women's T10 Course Invitational. And football suspended in Catalonia.
And now for a look at the news. Family members of 2 Berbice fishermen who are suspected to have been murdered in a recent piracy attack are still scouring the water in an effort to recover their bodies. Shakima Day brings us more.
The country was still recovering from the devastating aftermath of the April 2018 piracy attack in Suriname waters that left 3 dead, 11 missing and presumed dead, while 11 survived. Now, tragedy struck again, this time claiming the lives of 2 young men, while 2 are still missing and presumed dead. The bodies of 20-year-old Otto Lamar Petrie and 36-year-old Kowal Ajay Kisun have been recovered from the Abari foreshore Mahaica, just days apart from each other. Both bodies were bound at the hands and feet. Family members of the remaining men, 20-year-old boat captain Vishnu Siram and Marvin Tamishwar, have lost all hope that the men would be found alive. Search efforts are still ongoing to recover their bodies. Tasha Sicharan, wife of Ajay Kisun, disclosed that herself and other family members learned from Facebook that a body was discovered, and they ventured to the funeral home where her worst fears were confirmed.
Can we go straight to the back? And as soon as he opened the ice box, I saw the clothes and it was my husband. I told him, I don't have to identify anything else. This is my husband. I couldn't recognize his face. There were no flesh, only a skeleton I could see on his face. His body, I see marks of violence on his belly. His 2 foot was swelled. I didn't identify the tattoo at the set time. I tell him yes, that's his clothes, because that's the very clothes he worked with. It's a long sleeve black Calvin Klein shirt. He had on a green under a vest and a blue short pants with stripes. Now I come back in front, the police take a statement from me. They tell me that, okay, I want you to go back to identify the body one last time. So I go, they pull the gloves out. When they pull the gloves out, there and there, I recognize a tattoo. There is a tattoo of King mark on his hand.
Family members were outraged, expressing their frustrations over the safety of fishermen who tread dangerous waters in search of an honest living. However, Public Security Minister Kemraj Ramjatan told Globespan 24 News that while police are investigating the incident, government had pitched the idea to fishermen since last year for every boat to be given a firearm as a form of protection while on water. But according to him, this option was not taken up by the fishermen.
The police are right now investigating this matter, but what the government has done and has seen major successes over the last 4 years is a lot of aerial surveillance, and also keeping an eye on the suspected pirates on the ground. Those are the 2 important things that we have been doing, because they just can't have a police coast guard boat next to people doing their fishing. But we understand now that the number of these people are not really catching fish. They are going to bring a number of illegal items and a couple of other things and so on. And so we will have to do lots more aerial surveillance, and we will have to. There are a number of other things that we can do, like if there are innocent people who are going to be attacked, and I have spoken to them already about this thing on a number of occasions, that every boat that wants to go out there to defend themselves, we are willing to give them a firearm.
Branterton said that the option is still available to the fishermen.
I have left it with them. They're the ones that are supposed to take it up from there. They never did.
Nevertheless, the minister said his government is concerned about the issue and assured that a full-fledged investigation will be conducted. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
Thanks, Shakima. And what started as a normal day of business at Eldorado Trading, located at 63 De Silva Street, Newtown, Kitty, Georgetown, ended in bloodshed when a customer was shot and killed, and others injured by armed bandits who are believed to have traced his vehicle to the business premises. Here are the full details in this Kingsley Bryan report.
Globespan 24x7 News was informed by residents that Dion Stall, a gold miner from Charity, Essequibo Coast, was shot during the ordeal and died while receiving treatment at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. Reports are that Stall was about to complete a transaction with the company and that the now dead miner had recently come out of the interior where he is said to be working. According to reports, Stall was reportedly shot while sitting in a motor vehicle bearing registration number PPP 6727 as he awaited the security to open the gate to the business establishment. It was at this point that a white 212 Toyota motor car drove behind Stoll's vehicle and stopped. From the surveillance footage at the scene, they can be observed trailing the businessman's car as it made its way down De Silva Street. Eyewitnesses revealed that as Stoll was about to drive into the Eldorado Trading compound, the occupants in the white 212 exited the vehicle and accosted the men, opening fire on them. The driver, who exited the vehicle apparently rushing to Stoll's aid, was also shot along with the security who works at Eldorado Trading Company. Residents in the community recalled hearing the loud gunshots and took covers on the floors of their homes as the gunfire rang out for some time. The gun-toting bandits then reportedly made good their escape as the men who were shot in the exchange were rushed to the hospital for treatment. Stoll reportedly died while receiving treatment at the said institution. The entrance to the business place had visible bloodstains, indicating that a lot of blood was lost, and another vehicle which was parked outside bore a shattered window. The car in which Stoll was traveling also bore bullet holes. Police investigators were called to the scene, and several spent shells were retrieved by the lawmen during the cordoned-off exercise. Information reaching this newscast suggests that the gold miner may have been followed by the bandits to the trading company, where he would usually sell his gold whenever he came out from the interior region. And this is a theory that is also being explored by lawmen. Eldorado Trading is regarded as one of the country's leading private gold dealers, and this was said to be one of the first occurrences of its kind to happen at the business establishment. For Globespan 24x7 News, this is Kingsley Bryan.
Thanks, Kingsley. Meanwhile, police are investigating the murder of Elijah Chesney, 18, a member of the GDF, and of Lot 562 D Field Supply, Greater Georgetown, which occurred at about 11 hours 50 today at Tugville squatting area by person or persons unknown. The police said the body, which bore 2 suspected gunshot wounds, is presently at the Georgetown Public Hospital mortuary, awaiting a post-mortem examination. The People's United and General Workers Union, which serves as the recognized union at Troy Resources during a press conference held earlier today, extended condolences to the family and children of Ryan Taylor, a technician who died at the mine after the pit in which he was working caved in on Tuesday, October 8, 2019. Lincoln Lewis, who serves as the union's administrator, said Taylor's passing is a stern reminder to all in the industry to be compliant with the safety rules. Lewis said the blame for the young man's death could be shared by two main agencies.
We hold those at GGMC and the Ministry of Social Protection equally accountable, along with the employer, for the conditions of work which Ryan Taylor and his colleagues are subject to working under. It was not unknown to them. In 2016, there was a severe wall failure at Smart State 3 pit in Karuni Mine. The union reached out to GMC and the ministry time and time again, all to no avail.
This, he said, was to secure their support and intervention to protect workers' lives and safety. Lewis also added that the behavior seemingly becoming consistent, where foreign companies are allowed to enter Guyana and operate in direct contravention to the established labor laws. Lewis maintains this is cause for concern, citing the recent incident with Rusal and the lack of due diligence by the government agencies.
There appeared to be no respect for the laws of our land governing industrial practices, protecting workers, and dictating how foreign investors are expected to function. There appeared to be some individuals deliberately undermining the role of government and oversight regulatory body, such as the GGMC. Some individuals are either exercising clandestine anti-labor struggles, working as agents for unethical employers.
As such, Lewis said the union holds all involved accountable for a combination of lapses given rise to circumstances surrounding Ryan Taylor's death and demand a full and complete investigation into the death. The union also stressed that every Guyanese life must be treated consistent with the law and as a matter of common practice.
This struggle of ours is not new. It is a struggle known too well to the working class of all generations. It is a struggle against exploitation, against colonial and neoliberal forces, from slavery to post-colonization. Foreign investors are welcome to our country. They are welcome to exploit our resources, but they must respect our laws and our people's rights.
Lewis reiterated that safety must be boosted as the first priority and not wealth as the risk of workers' lives. Meanwhile, engineer Charles Series, who serves as one of the union's consultants, said mining cannot continue at the site unless certain conditions, which should have been met before the commencement of operations, are indeed reviewed.
Certainly, you should not work with anyone to advance mining at this site without an agreement that all of the monitoring mechanisms that were in the permitting regime are in fact in place. So mining should not recommence here unless all of the monitoring mechanisms are in place. At this juncture, I think it's incumbent upon the Ministry of Natural Resources, GGMC and the EPA to provide validation that these monitoring mechanisms that were mandated were in fact in place.
The union will be lending all support to ensure the children and family of Ryan are adequately compensated for their loss. They are also determined to have Troy respect workers' rights to freedom of association and to be represented by a union, but have not indicated whether they will be pursuing litigation at this point. Ryan Taylor, technician attached to the Troy Resources Company, died at the mine after the pit in which he was working caved in on Tuesday, October 29. The Ministry of Social Protection has since issued a cease order until their investigations into the incident are completed. An explanatory mission from the European Union is expected in Ghana this week to begin meeting with various stakeholders on issues related to the upcoming elections. Media reports indicate that the European mission in Guyana has indicated that the government has expressed an interest in the EU sending a team to observe the March 2, 2020 elections in Guyana. The advanced team, which arrives this week, will be here to assess the advisability, feasibility, and usefulness of deploying an EU election observation mission to Guyana. The Elections Commission is currently in the process of training persons who will be likely have to work on Elections Day, while claims and objections is currently ongoing and will end on November 18. The Demerara Distillers Limited DDL recently commissioned Ghana's first liquefied natural gas regasification terminal as part of a drive to create clean energy sources for power generation. The company is now using LNG to power its operations at its Diamond East Bank Demerara operations. In order to support the LNG operations, DDL recently held a full-day training seminar for a number of its employees covering LNG awareness and safe handling procedures. The training course was conducted by an experienced health and safety instructor. The course covered a range of critical topics, including the properties of LNG, LNG tank design, loading and uploading procedures, required personnel protective equipment, and spill response procedures. Port personnel and truck operators from John Fernandez Limited also attended the training seminar. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel for the latest news in Ghana, the Caribbean, and around the world. Join us after these messages for more news with Shakima Day.
To keep up with breaking news in Guyana, the rest of the Caribbean, and on the international scene, like, follow, and subscribe to Globespan 24x7's Facebook and YouTube news page. Join the conversation, get live news on the go, and details right here on Globespan 24x7 News.
TravelSpan is a proud sponsor of Globespan 24x7 News. TravelSpan has some cheap fares to Guyana on American Airlines flights. Fly from January for $234 one-way and $512 round-trip. Take advantage of these cheap fares on American non-stop flights from JFK to Guyana. That's non-stop flights from JFK to Guyana starting as low as $234 one-way and $512 round-trip. And also has the cheapest fares for Christmas that starts as low as $799 round-trip. TravelSpan celebrating 25 years in business with over 10 offices to serve you. Call 718-845-0437. That's 718-845-0437. Or book online at travelspan.com. Book early and save.
Welcome back. Time to stay tuned now for more news. We'll tell you that there are reports of persons purporting to be GCOM officials visiting homes and offering to conduct transactions as part of the claims and objections period. Now, GCOM is urging residents to be vigilant and not to provide any information. Transactions are only being done at GCOM permanent and temporary registration office countrywide. We'll tell you now that 40 more Guyanese students will benefit from scholarships through the Indian Technical and Economic Cooperation (ITEC) program. This was disclosed on Friday evening during a celebration of the program at the residence of High Commissioner of India to Guyana, His Excellency Dr. K.J. Srinivasa. ITEC, which began in 1964, is a fully funded program run by the government of India to encourage cooperation and partnership among developing countries for mutual benefit. Prospective students can benefit from training opportunities in India, only available to citizens from 160 partner countries, Guyana included. Dr. Srinivasa noted that so far over 500 Guyanese have been trained under the ITEC scheme, which is managed by the Ministry of External Affairs in India. Minister of Education Nicolette Henry said that the program is in the business of developing Guyana's human resources. It is in keeping with the ministry's push for inclusive and holistic education for all, as it is specifically tailored for developing countries. Relevant to the looming oil and gas industry, Minister Henry assured that the program would allow for local students to be exposed to vast training opportunities. Meanwhile, 147 young men and women from the 10 administrative regions across the country have been accepted to commence training in 5 allied health professions. According to Health Education Officer of the Ministry of Public Health, Kim Fraser-Bristol, this is the largest intake since the ministry introduced clinical and technical training programs in 2007. This batch of allied health professionals includes 43 pharmacy assistants, 30 environment health assistants, 40 medical laboratory technicians, 22 medical x-ray technicians, and 12 audiological practitioners. Of the overall total of trainees, 44 were drawn from the hinterland regions 1, 7, 8, and 9. Fraser-Bristol, who is the coordinator of three of the 5 training programs, expressed her satisfaction with the number of hinterland trainees and what this holds for the future of the public health sector. Open quote, "We have had a large number of applications and the person selected would have gone through the interview process and passed. It is the largest intake of our hinterland students because the ministry is focused on having persons trained so that they can return to their regions and serve." All of the programs commenced on October 14 and will run for varying periods, with the longest running being the medical laboratory technician at 18 months. The other programs will run for periods of 12 and 15 months. Minister of Public Health, Walter Lawrence, said that the government is pleased to initiate such a training opportunity for young persons, as it demonstrates every effort made to address the human resources gap in the public health sector. She also emphasized that this is an important aspect to the Ministry of Public Health reaching its overarching objective to ensure everyone has access to all levels of healthcare services. Also, upon completion of training, these persons will become critical to the delivery of healthcare in Guyana. You'll hear now that President David Granger, in his bid to ensure that Guyana pushes forward with the modernization, has pledged $1 million to the Swarsati Vidya Nikitan Secondary School Science Department. Here is that report. The head of state made this announcement as he delivered a feature address to the graduating class of 2019 at the Swarsati Vidya Nikitan Secondary School on Sunday. According to President Granger, with the impending oil sector, Guyana will embark on the modern path. As such, he feels science can help to further modernize the country.
If you give the schools the laboratories and give the students the opportunities, you'll see what will happen. And that is why I'm so interested in Swamiji's laboratory. My friends, our national government today must continue to provide schools and our students with the laboratories, with the libraries, with the lecture rooms that they need to become scientists.
The president commended the graduating class of 2019, citing the importance of their science program.
SPN is moving on the correct path. It is emphasizing science, education, without de-emphasizing the humanities. And the Swami's love of poetry indicates that we might very well love the humanities more than science, but I wouldn't judge. The school's decision to erect a science building equipped with modern laboratories is a recognition of the validity and the urgency of science education.
Further, the head of state relayed his government's 2020-2029 plan to establish a grade A secondary school in every region.
My government aims at establishing at least one first class, perhaps A grade, if it satisfies the qualifications to be A grade. But every region should have a first class A grade secondary school, including Mabarumo in the Barima Waini, which has now become a town, including Bartica in the Cuyuni region, which has now become a town, including Madia in the Potaro Separuni, including the Essequibo Islands, West Demerara.
The decade of development 2020-2029, according to the president, will equip students for a science-driven world, give them access to free education, including university and access to information technology. For Globespan 24x7 News, Shakima Day.
The government of Guyana, through the Department of Culture, will be furthering its commitments to implement a national cultural policy by hosting a series of consultations scheduled for October 15 to 17, 2019 at the Hotel Tower, commencing from 9 a.m. daily. The consultation process, spearheaded by Director of Culture Tamika Boatswain, with assistance from Ruel Johnson, Culture Policy Advisor to the Government of Guyana, was launched in 2015 based on the commitment by the current administration to mainstream culture in development, protect our cultural heritage, and support development of cultural and creative industries. The second phase of consultations will see the government partnering with the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, to execute the 3-day process, which targets government agencies, the private sector, and non-governmental stakeholder organizations. Lead facilitator for the workshops will be Jamaican Sydney Bartley, a leading regional expert on cultural policy. Bartley will be accompanied by Yuri Peskov, Program Specialist for Culture in UNESCO Kingston Cluster Office. Meanwhile, First Lady Mrs. Sandra Granger urged pensioners to align themselves with the technological age so that they will be able to further contribute to the growth and development of Guyana. She made the call during a presidential brunch held at the Berbice Benab State House compound to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the Government Pensioners Association of Guyana. According to her, the theme, The Age of Promise, is apt as Guyana is ever moving forward.
One would have thought that at this time in your lives, with the days of your, quote, years numbering 70, unquote, you would have been inclined to rest on your laurels and take advantage of quiet days of rest and relaxation. Instead, the theme for this commemoration gives the impression of anticipation, of hope, and of eagerly awaiting fulfillment of certain goals and objectives.
Mrs. Granger further added, with the advancing technological age, pensioners can develop and enhance their skills in information and communication technologies.
Then, applying those skills and experience, together with the knowledge and expertise you acquired during your careers in the public service, you can work from your homes, work full-time or part-time, and provide the services needed in Guyana's expanding economy.
The First Lady complimented the pensioners for not sitting back and anticipating quiet days at home. Mrs. Granger reminded the pensioners that their presence at the brunch is testimony of their shared knowledge of the rules and procedures of their various ministries and agencies, of working towards deadlines and crunching numbers in their respective budgets, and of hustling to transmit documents to permanent secretaries or ministries. Those in attendance were treated to poems, music, and songs. This milestone celebration is occurring during the month in which senior citizens are being honored. We'll now take a short commercial break. Do stay tuned for regional, international, and diaspora news with Kingsley Bryan.
Globespan GT is a proud sponsor of Globespan 24x7 News. Here are some exciting news from Globespan GT. Fares have dropped for next year, starting January 20 to August. American Airlines has cheap fares on non-stop flights to New York. Flights are as low as $306 one way and $540 round trip, all tax included. Take advantage of these cheap fares on American Airlines non-stop flights to New York. Globespan has also cheap fares to Miami, Toronto, Canada, and the Caribbean. Call Globespan GT in Georgetown at 227-1701, that's 227-1701, or in Rose Hall call 337-4298, and New Amsterdam at 333-6230. That call Travelspan GT in Georgetown at 227-1701. That's 227-1701.
Or in Rose Hall, call 337-4287.
And in New Amsterdam at 333-6230.
And now for the news in detail. The World Trade Centers Association, during an International Trade Conference and Expo, FITCE, which featured products from Guyana, expressed its interest in setting up a location in Guyana. This announcement was made by the Guyanese American Chamber of Commerce, whose secretary, Melinda Gordon, noted that the expo provided Guyana with encouraging and positive exposure. Gordon said that local participants in attendance of the event were interested in products and services being offered by Guyana. As such, the WTCA will be pursuing discussions toward this by the end of the month. According to the GACC, the interested participants have indicated follow-up action to ensure sustainable markets for these products. Participants also expressed interest in Guyana's natural resources like gold and diamonds, seafood, and fruits and vegetables, among other products and services. The WTCA's main goal is to access to international trade services and facilities by linking the offices of government and industry that serve and carry on trade. According to Gordon, a WTCA in Guyana will benefit small businesses since the WTCA was impressed by what they saw from the Guyanese diaspora. And the police officer is reported to be in serious condition at the hospital after liquid was flung into his eyes by a woman at a local bar on Friday night in Trinidad and Tobago. According to reports, Police Constable Ernie Bernard suffered grade 4 injuries to his eyes and is at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex. A statement from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service said that Bernard and other police officers were off duty and hanging out at a bar on Madras Road when he tried to part a fight with two women. It is alleged that one of the women went to a vehicle and grabbed the jar which contained the unknown liquid and threw the substance at Bernard's face, then fled in the vehicle. Police are unclear what the substance is. An investigation has been launched into the crime against the officer. And Ecuador's government has agreed to restore fuel subsidies in deal with indigenous leaders to end mass protests that have brought the capital Quito to a standstill, the UN says. President Lenin Moreno had imposed a curfew enforced by the military, but according to a joint statement, government had withdrawn an order removing the fuel subsidies. The statement said with this agreement, Ecuador government is committing to restoring peace in the country. The decision came after the two sides held talks brokered by the UN and the Roman Catholic, after nearly 2 weeks of violent demonstration by rebels. The two sides will now discuss a new law to ensure subsidies are not exploited by people who smuggle fuel to neighboring countries. Government official Juan Sebastian Roldan said that talks to start drafting a new law would start immediately. The statement also said that a commission will also be set up to reestablish peace in the stricken Andean nation, with mediation by the Catholic Church, the UN, and others. And an official working close to the U.S. impeachment inquiry has said that the U.S. Intelligence Committee issued a subpoena to former National Security Council official Fiona Hill because of White House attempts to direct witnesses not to cooperate with the House's impeachment inquiry. According to that official, because of efforts by the White House limit any testimony that does occur, the House Intelligence Committee issued a subpoena to former National Security Council official Dr. Fiona Hill to compel her testimony this morning. As is required of her, Hill is now complying with the subpoena and answering questions from both Democratic and Republican members and staff. Top Republican on the Oversight Committee, Jim Jordan, said Hill had been subpoenaed even though she was willing to testify voluntarily. And a recent investigation by the largest ever task force assembled to fight organized crime in Asia has identified a long-time drug trafficker a Canadian national, as a suspected kingpin of a $70 billion a year Asia-Pacific drug trade. It is alleged that the suspected syndicate leader is Che Shilop, 55 years old, who is an ex-convict, and he formerly lived in Toronto and has moved between Macau, Hong Kong, and Taiwan in recent years. Authorities have not publicly identified Say as the boss of the drug trafficking group. The Australian Federal Police, which has taken the lead into the sprawling investigation, has compiled a list of top syndicate members that identifies Say as the senior leader of the Sam Gore Syndicate. A flowchart of the syndicate in a Taiwanese law enforcement document identifies Say as the multinational CEO of the Sam Gore Syndicate. And the Met Office in England has said that thunderstorms are set to cause flooding and travel disruption across parts of England. The forecasters issued an amber thunderstorm warning for the east and southeast of the country. Storms in northern France are expected to move across the channel to strike the east, London, and the home countries. Between 3 cm and 4 cm of rain is set to fall within 2 hours after 17 hours BST, which could lead to flash flooding. The Met Office said flooding of homes and businesses is likely and could happen quickly, with damage to some buildings from flood water, lightning strikes, hail, or strong winds. There is also a risk of power cuts, flooding, and travel disruption, while fast-flowing water could pose a danger to life in some cases. Lightning, hail, and gusty winds are also expected. People are being warned of potential travel delays, road and rail closures, and power outages. A yellow weather warning for rain, is also in place, covering central and southern parts of the country. And South Africa's Justice Minister is seeking a presidential pardon for Kaya Sekese, a student activist serving an 8-year jail sentence for setting alight a police vehicle during the Fees Must Fall protests that rocked universities across the country back in 2016. The student appeared in court on Monday in a bid to have his sentence and conviction for malicious damage to property overturned, but it was rejected by the magistrate. Despite being rejected, he can still legally approach the Supreme Court of Appeal. Lawyers argue that there was insufficient evidence against him despite his conviction. The lawyers also said the prosecution failed to produce any video evidence and that the still images being used as evidence against their client provided no conclusive proof of any wrongdoing. And we'll tell you now that Japan has reported more than 110,000 people are taking part in search and rescue operations after Typhoon Berbice struck Japan on Saturday. The typhoon is the worst the country has seen in decades, and at least 40 people were killed and 16 reported missing. Due to the seriousness of Typhoon Berbice, the cancellation of 3 Rugby World Cup matches occurred, but a key match between Japan and Scotland went ahead. Police officers, firefighters, coast guards, and the military are working to reach those trapped by landslides and floods. The typhoon battered 8 prefectures across Japan, with wind speeds up to 225 kilometers per hour. And turning our attention now to commodity news, we'll tell you that the world market gas seed oil prices dropping by nearly 3% today as investors actually await details about the first phase of a trade deal between the United States and China. Statistics shows Brent crude dropped 1.64 or 2.7% to $58.8 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude oil lost $1.52 or 2.8% to $53 a barrel. On Friday night, the United States and China outlined the first stage of a trade deal and suspended this week's scheduled U.S. tariff hikes. Brent and WTI rose more than 3% last week, their first weekly increase in 3, on the signs of progress towards a trade deal that would boost crude oil demand. A BNP Paribas oil strategist said that the oil market is taking a cautious stance as to what comes next, given that the thorny issues of industrial policy, intellectual property rights, technology transfer, among others, were not addressed. But existing tariffs remain in place, and officials on both sides said much more work was needed before an accord that could be agreed upon is reached. Now that has brought us to the end of today's news in the region and around the world. Let us join Kumar Doshi with Tech News at our studio in India for more on education technology and what this means for the 21st century students and teachers. This is Kingsley Bryan reporting from Guyana. Stay tuned for more news.
Namaste, salam and good day to everyone. This is TechBeat on Globespan 24x7. After discussing about drone farming, let's see what are agricultural robots and automated farming. Agriculture in the modern age is changing rapidly. Rising global population and shifting trade policies affect the pricing, supply chain, and delivery of food products. Meanwhile, consumer preferences, especially in the modern countries, are shifting towards organic and sustainably produced products and produce that require more attention, data, and labor. An agricultural robot is a robot deployed for agriculture purpose. The main area of application of robots in agriculture today is in the harvesting stage. Emerging applications of robots in agriculture include weed control, cloud seeding, plant seeds, harvesting, environmental monitoring, and soil analysis. According to verified market research, the agricultural robot market is expected to reach $11.58 billion by 2025. Fruit picking robots, driverless tractors, sprayers, and sheep shearing robots are designed to replace human labor. In most cases, a lot of factors have to be considered, like size and color, before the commencement of a task. Robots can be used for other horticultural tasks, such as pruning, weeding, spraying, and monitoring. Smart or automated farming systems reduce waste, improve productivity, and enable management of a great number of resources through remote sensing. In traditional farming methods, it was a pain for the farmer to be out in the fields, constantly monitoring the land and condition of the crops, especially in big fields. The robots do not get sick or tired, and they do not need the time off. They can operate with close tolerances, offer fewer errors, and at high speeds, and the high quality products can be sensed by machines accurately. The robots in agriculture industry offers the higher quality of fresh produce. But there are a few disadvantages of agricultural robots. It costs a lot of money to make or buy the robot and needs the maintenance to keep them running. They consume a lot of electricity. If there's a blackout and your farm is automated, then it could create a problem. As technology improves, smart or automated farming could be a common practice in the future. That wraps up for today's Tech Beat. I'm Kumar Doshi, bringing you tech news from India. Back to the studio in Guyana for more news to come. Thank you.
And that was our Bridge Reports. We'll now shift our attention to what's happening in the world of sport with Abel Harris.
Thanks, Samuel. Let's look at some sports. Minister with responsibility for sport, Dr. George Norton, has extended congratulations to the Guyana Amazon Warriors team for an exceptional performance in the Hero Caribbean Premier League 2019. Open quote. Even though we did not win, I believe that Guyana was a massive force to be reckoned with in the tournament. We have been consistent in reaching the finals, and when the time is right, we will stun the cricketing world with a spectacular win, Minister Norton said. Dr. Norton is encouraging all Guyanese to upkeep the unity momentum that the CPL has brought on. Open quote. The CPL may have come and gone, but the togetherness and love that we displayed as one people, one nation with one destiny, while rallying around the Guyana Amazon Warriors, deserve to live on, Minister Norton urged. The Warriors lost their first CPL 2019 game on Saturday in Trinidad and Tobago against the Barbados Tridents. The Hero Caribbean Premier League have announced the team of the tournament. This has been selected by Tom Moody, Hero's CPL's Director of International Cricket, along with the commentary team Mark Butcher, Danny Morrison, Dirk Nens, Ian Bishop and Darren Ganga. The team will be captained by Shoaib Malik, who successfully led the Guyana Amazon Warriors to a record 10 victories in the group stages to leave them unbeaten in the tournament thus far. He is joined by fellow Amazon Warriors Brandon King and Imran Tahir, who have both played an integral part in the Guyana franchise record-breaking tournament. The sole representative from the Jamaica Talawas is Glenn Phillips. The Trinbago Knight Riders have two players in the team, Linda Simmons and Kieran Pollard. The Barbados Tridents have three players who make the team: Jason Holder, Harry Gournay, and Hayden Walsh Jr. The St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots have representation from Fabian Allen and Sheldon Cottrell. The head coach of the year is Johan Botha, who has taken Guyana Amazon Warriors into the CPL final with 11 straight wins. The 12th and 13th men are also from Guyana Amazon Warriors, with Chris Green and Chandrapal Hemraj making up the rest of the squad. The court's Gladiators gained revenge for Thursday's 8th wicket defeat to the NLCB Revelers with a 3-run victory in Saturday's CPL Women's T10 Courts Invitational. The Revelers had prevailed by 8 wickets in the NLCB Challenge, and it looked like being a similar story 2 days on when the Gladiators were restricted to 66-6 from their 10 overs at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. But in the absence of star player Stephanie Taylor, the Revelers came up short on 63-6, despite Chanel Henry's unbeaten 17 and 11 off 5 balls from Stacey Ann King to go with her 3 wickets in the first half of the game. At the end of the first ever CPL Women's T10 tournament, both teams, the NLCB Revelers and the Course Gladiators, secured 1 win each in the separate invitational matches, and it was hailed a resounding success by the organizers. The Catalan Football Federation has suspended all matches in the region after the 9 Catalan separatist leaders were jailed. Spain's Supreme Court sentenced leaders for sedition over their role in an independence referendum in 2017. The federation says the suspension is to show solidarity with the leaders and their families and covers all of its official football and futsal matches. It does not include La Liga, or the Spanish national team. Catalonia is a semi-autonomous region in northeast Spain, and in a referendum on 1 October 2017, declared illegal by Spain's constitutional court, of about 90% of Catalan votes cast backed independence, but turnout was 43%. That's all for sports. Back to you, Samuel.
Thanks, Abel. And that has brought us to the end of today's news. Before you go, here's a recap of our major headlines. Businessman shot and killed, 2 others injured during robbery in Kitty, Georgetown. Piracy attack, search still on for missing Berbice boat captain and crew member. 147 persons being trained in various allied health professions. And GGMC and Labour Department share equal blame for mining pit incident, says PUGWU. And finally, second phase of National Cultural Policy consultations set to begin soon. Thanks for watching Globespan 24/7 News. On behalf of myself, Samuel Suknandan, the news and technical team in Guyana, New York, and India. Until next time, Do have a pleasant rest of the evening. Goodbye for now.